What's going on, everybody? Good late afternoon, pushing into the early evening here. Hope you guys are doing well. Please like this video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell for notifications, become a channel member for $2 a month. Best ways to support the channel. We had a Seattle Seahawks practice today. We didn't learn a ton. There wasn't a ton of new information. We didn't even get an injury report because the team is not obligated to produce one until Wednesday, but we did get a little bit here and there, and I like to cover what we do have. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we heard. We did have one roster move today. We did have some injury updates that weren't direct, but they were indirect. Definitely worth taking a look at here. So let's have a look and see what the Seahawks passed along, starting with said roster move. And this one was kind of expected. Remember, last week we released Anthony Bell, or Anthony Bell, excuse me, the safety slash special teamer. I thought that we were definitely going to bring him back, and we have brought him back. Now, we brought him back to the practice squad, which was also kind of expected. I don't know if we're at risk of losing him to another team, but I guess he made it this far, so we're probably okay. But we are playing with fire a little bit here. Anthony Bell is considered to be one of the best special teamers in football. Would not shock me if at some point us trying to put him on the practice squad ends up not working out. But in order to make room for him on that practice squad, we released Sata Owalomea. And that comes as a little bit of a surprise, I think. But if you've really been paying attention to the team so far this offseason, it's not that surprising. Lomea clearly regressed from where he was last year. Lomea looked semi-competent last year in 6 games. He started the last 6 games of the season, and he didn't look good. Maybe he wasn't even average, but there was something there that seemed kind of interesting. Now he can't even make the practice squad, so Lomea is gone. Bell is back, which is certainly much more important. That is what we need. We need Bell on this squad for the time being with the special teams issues we already have. It is worth noting, though, that this team, which was already pretty thin on the offensive line, they have 9 offensive linemen on their 53-man, now has 1 less practice squad offensive lineman. I'm still waiting for them to find some way to mitigate the lack of offensive linemen on this team. They are currently putting a lot of trust into the flexibility of the players that we do have. And I don't know. It could work, but I think there's a reason why most teams carry at least 10 offensive linemen. I'm still waiting for our 10th, but at this point, maybe it's just not coming, and maybe we'll just take care of it if an issue actually crops up. So that's the roster news. Looking at what happened at the VMAC today, we got a couple things about special teams from Nemhauser here, and then we also had something from Condota. So Nemhauser noted that Jake Bobo and Torrey Horton were fielding punts at practice. Now, we knew about Horton. We knew Horton had a really good chance to be a punt returner this season. Bobo, I don't know if he wants to be returning punts after what happened in the Green Bay game, to be perfectly honest, but we are trying him at least. And then you've got this from Condota, where he lists other players that tried to return punts today as George Holani, Courtney Jackson, who was signed mostly for special team stuff, Derek Young, that one's interesting to me, Bobo, we saw that one earlier, and Ty Okada. So no yet strong indication of who's actually going to be returning punts on Sunday, but we do have options. Before I go any further into this, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. Have you heard about the Sleeper app? It is the best way to experience and connect over sports together with other users. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Go download the app now. You can celebrate and chat on games in real time with others. You can get the fastest scores, news, and alerts, all that right at your fingertips. And of course, you can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So you can enjoy sports the way they were meant to be, together. Download the #1 sports app today. And when you go, use promo code SBN, that is SBN, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. So check out Sleeper today. Don't forget promo code SBN. Now, I do think the guy will ultimately end up being Horton, but we also know that Horton may not be 100% healthy. However, the fact that he's out there fielding punts indicates that he's getting healthier. So, still good news here. And while, as Dugar points out here, the Seahawks did not provide an injury update today because they don't need to, McDonald didn't give any concrete updates, we can infer some stuff based simply on who was practicing, who was actually on the field, and what they were doing. So when you see Torrey Horton fielding punts at practice like this, then that's an indication that he's on the right track, and it's obviously a very good thing. And you can see here that on top of Horton and, of course, Bobo, remember Bobo still theoretically recovering from that Green Bay game, you also had Tyrese Knight doing some stuff on the field today at the VMAC. So great news. We definitely need at least some of those guys. Maybe we can survive a little bit without Bobo. He's receiver 4. He's mostly a situational player. I'm not going to go crazy about that, but Horton's pretty important, and Knight is, I think, very important. He's a starter, and I think that he's actually kind of put himself in a situation where he's a plus player that we're going to rely on this year. So it's just warm-ups. It's not a guarantee of anything, but it is an indication that things are moving in the right direction here. There's more video of Horton here from Brady Henderson talking about him coming back from the ankle injury. McDonald said last week that the plan was for him to be a full participant at some point this week. We don't know if he was a full participant today because it was closed off to the media. From the little bit that we do get to see, from the little bit that the team does make available to us, it looks like he at least got to do some warm-ups. And also getting to warm up a little bit today was Uchenna Nwosu. There's a video of him working with a trainer during the warm-up period of practice, and we don't know exactly how much he participated beyond that. I still suspect that he's got long odds to play against the Niners, but this is obviously still a good sign that he's working his way back towards being able to get on the football field. So definitely enthused about what I see there. Definitely happy about all that. Excuse me. Cough is still acting up lately. I get comments about it every now and then. Trust me, guys. This is I'm going through a little something right now, but I will get past it. So that's the Nwosu stuff. And we also had a little bit about Ken Walker. Like I said, McDonald didn't offer a lot of specificity about injury stuff because we don't have to, but everything is going according to plan right now as far as Ken Walker III goes, which aligns with my general sense. I know that Walker has missed a lot of practice so far this offseason, and I know that he's been certainly held out a lot, and that's worried people, but I've always been under the impression that we as a team were managing his load more than it was him saying, oh, I'm hurt, I can't play football. So I'm not worried about anything going on with Walker, and it sure sounds like he will be ready to go at pretty much full bore week 1, and I'm excited. Yeah, so I think some people have forgotten how good Ken Walker can be, how explosive he can be, the damage he can do. So definitely excited about that. We also got this one comment from McDonald about our offensive line depth that is definitely going to be interesting to some people. When asked about the guard depth in Seattle, McDonald said that if someone couldn't find their helmet, then Olu Oluwatimi would probably be the next man up. And what he means by that is that Olu would move to center off the bench. Olu would come in and play center, and Sundell would move to guard. Now, that's not amazing. We don't love playing the shell game with offensive linemen having to come off the bench, but it does reflect the way in which this team is thinking about, thinking about how to approach the offensive line if somebody gets banged up. And it does speak to the fact that they are willing to do something like this because of the flexibility afforded to them by Sundell being able to play some center and some guard. I still wish we could do a little bit better than this, but this is where we find ourselves. This is the circumstance with this offensive line, and I do feel better about this offensive line than I have in a while. But the thing is, most NFL offensive lines, right? Most NFL offensive lines rely on having healthy players. If somebody gets hurt, they're in trouble. That doesn't just go for the Seahawks. That goes for everybody. So, look, if somebody gets hurt, then things are going to go badly. Things are going to get worse for those teams, and it is what it is. So, definitely caught my attention here. An acknowledgement that they're not going to just bring in Richmond or Cable Dew off the bench and throw them into a starting situation. And yeah, that's basically all we got from the VMAC today. We did get some updates about our division rivals, just to spend a minute on this, because this Niners stuff is actually really important. We had several 49ers come back to the field today, and it's only Monday, so this is a positive sign for all these players. And good chance that we see all or at least most of these guys on game day on Sunday. Juwan Jennings, which is a very big deal for them right now because we know they don't have Ayuk. Dominic Pooney, also a big deal for them because they're counting on him becoming something pretty valuable. Clyde Davis, Gross Matos, I don't know how to pronounce that one. I remember when he was in the draft, and I said I would learn how to pronounce his name if we drafted him, and we didn't. Russell Gage Jr., which is also actually pretty important because of their receiver problems. So it's actually clearing up a little bit in San Fran. And we also got this from the Rams. McVay is expected to start versus the Texans. So after a very drama-filled offseason so far, Stafford's at least going to start the first game, it looks like. And there's also Alaric Jackson, who has also been monitored throughout the offseason. Looks like he's going to start against the Texans as well. So much ado about still something, but not as much. Okay, that's it for this video. I think that's really all the news we have to cover in terms of Seattle Seahawks stuff and adjacent to Seattle Seahawks stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Obviously, this wasn't the most action-packed practice, but we're kind of at the point now where the only thing we really want out of the Seahawks is a practice report, an injury report. Who's looking like they're going to play and who's not. That's the important stuff from here on out. So hopefully we can keep it to that, and we can keep it to a situation where it doesn't get longer. It can only get shorter. All right, going to be streaming on Twitch later tonight. Going to be starting some new games. The Metal Gear Solid Marathon is over. So assuming that I do stream tonight, and I think that I will, we're going to be doing some new stuff. Not 100% sure what yet. And keep an eye on Bleacher Report. I'm posting 4 videos there every week. Posted one this morning, posting another one tomorrow. You guys know the drill. Everyone have a great rest of your evening. Go Hawks. And yeah, that's what's going on with the Seahawks.